тяжестью дней. Небесный пастух пасет облака. Город стреляет в ночь дробью огней. Но ночь сильней, ее власть велика. Тем, кто ложится спать, спокойного сна. Спокойная ночь. Тем, кто ложится спать, спокойного сна. Спокойная ночь. Я ждал это время, и вот это время пришло. Те, кто молчал, перестали молчать. Те, кому нечего ждать, садятся в седло. Их не догнать, уже не догнать. А тем, кто ложится спать, спокойного сна. Спокойная ночь. Тем, кто ложится спать, спокойного сна. Спокойная ночь. Соседи приходят, им слышится стук копыт. Мешает уснуть, тревожит их сон. Те, кому нечего ждать, отправляются в путь. Те, кто спасен, те, кто спасен. А тем, кто ложится спать, спокойного сна.
Hey, welcome to the Black Ibis Social Club. I turned the music off a little bit early because I want to talk. But once again, welcome, guys. I see the chat's already starting to fill up. And Phisto's here. Hey, Phisto, what's up, my man?
Hey, good evening, sir. How are you?
Pretty good. I mean, I'm kind of tired, man. I've been gaming. I've been gaming hard, dude. Like I'm talking.
Hard.
I haven't
Hard.
I haven't gamed as hard since I don't know, since World of Warcraft came out. Okay.
Whoa.
So the last video game I was excited about, and I'm talking about like real excited, was World of Warcraft when that came out. Like I played the beta, had my night elf priest and everything. You know, I didn't bring any snacks. I have a water and I've got some Zins. That's about what I'm rolling with today. Pop a fresh one in real fast. But anyway, so this game Arc Raiders, man.
Down some coffee here. Yeah.
Oh, dude, it is good. It's good. Yeah, Tia's been playing Hollow Knight Silksong. That's that weird one with that like cool little like thing with the dress and like the little horns. It's like the white. It's kind of like a creative artistic looking one. That looks pretty cool. I just been playing Arc Raiders, man. Arc Raiders is like a masterpiece of a game. It's just like an extract shooter. You go in there, you rat around, you like find scrap, you fight some robots, and yeah, you just win, dude. I don't know. Like I,
Just win.
I get killed half the time though, but yeah, it's really fun. So if any of you guys are playing Arc Raiders, it's cross-platform, hit me up. I always need Raiders. Of course, did I ever tell you guys? I don't know if I ever hey man, hey, leave me alone, man. Right? Did I ever tell you guys that I am a video game transsexual? I'm video game transgender.
Video
There-
game
there-
trends. Oh, that's right. You like to play as the female avatar.
Yeah, I play
Yeah,
as girls all the
that-
time. All right.
Yeah.
And my character in Arc Raiders, man, she looks like she just got done just hanging out in freaking at Burning Man. She's got blonde like dreads, with the side of her head shaved and everything.
Oof.
Oh, it's good.
Looks like
It's good.
a belter, I bet.
Yeah, she does look like a belter.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of a. But the game has got this like really cool art direction. Man, have you ever been? Okay, to me, it reminds me of like Captain EO, the Michael Jackson ride over at Disneyland. It's got this like made in 1979 to like 1982, right? Like kind of vibe. Like it's got like these color. I don't know. It's just got this really cool art direction to it, and but the sound is amazing. It's just a fantastic game. What Captain EO? Okay, so if you are you guys familiar with Captain EO? Are you familiar with Captain EO?
Actually, no. I've never heard of this. I have no idea what you're talking about.
So this is for okay. So this is like I'm not a Disneyland guy. Like I'm not like a Disney adult or whatever the
You
fuck,
sure?
right? But
Are you
I grew up next to Disneyland, right? And I
Oh,
lived about 25 minutes from Disneyland. And if you lived in Disneyland, if you lived in like Southern California, you just go to Disneyland. That's what you do. It's there. It's like,
right.
hey, look,
Yeah.
it's right over there.
Yeah.
And it's a lot cheaper. They used to do like California resident passes where you do that. And they would do this maybe like 10 years ago or so. They used to do this like California resident pass where if you lived in California and you bought it with a California ID, it was a lot cheap for the like you could get a pretty cheap year pass. I mean, okay, look, it wasn't cheap. It was definitely you had to be like middle class, right? It's not like something you like. I couldn't afford it for like but like a bunch of kids and stuff, right? It was a few $100s a pop, right? But you bought this pass and you could just basically go all week, every day, like the entire year. And if you bought like the cheaper, like California resident pass, there were certain days that were like blackout days. Like you couldn't go like on holiday days or the days where like special events were happening. But for the most part, like it was pretty easy, right? Tia posted the YouTube video. So, anyways, at Disneyland, when I was growing up in Tomorrowland, like in the future land of Disneyland, there was this like 3D movie. It's not even a ride, it's like a movie, right? And you put on like your cheesy 3D glasses, and it's like a 15-minute movie that is like it's a Jim Henson production, I believe, if I'm correct, with Michael Jackson. And this is really weird, like 3D, like post-apocalyptic space thing. And it's got this crazy like 80s like vibe, and there's like a dancing robot that turns into like a drum set. It's just really fucking out there, dude. And it's really cool. Rainbows and shit flying in 3D. It's got these like I don't know, I used to love it when I was a little kid. And they got rid of it. They got rid of it at Disneyland. And they replaced it with like this other, like it was like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in 3D or some shit like that. And nobody like it, right? And they ended up bringing back Captain EO, right? Like it's around the time Michael Jackson like passed away. They brought back Captain EO. And I remember this was like it had to be over 10 years ago because it was before I met my wife. And I remember going there with a girlfriend of mine, and it was like a huge deal there. Like all like the diehard Michael Jackson / Disneyland people were like super excited that Captain EO is back. Anyways, the aesthetics of Arc Raiders is to me is very Captain EO, which which I like, and I also like Michael Jackson. So there's that.
Perfect.
But that's what I've been doing, man. I have been just going to work, playing video games, hanging out with the kids, going to church. I missed
That sounds pretty
Halloween.
perfect.
I
Sounds
missed
pretty
Halloween.
perfect.
I missed Halloween because I worked nights that day. So by the time, like, I was hoping to get home in time and maybe like hang out with my daughter a little bit and eat some candy. But I guess my daughter went, not my daughter, my wife with my daughter went trick or treating because my daughter's 7, so she's not going by herself. And they came back and they're like, "Oh, let's watch a horror movie." And then she passed out by the time like the credits like went. She was passed out on the couch. So by the time I got home, it was like I was done. Like she was sleeping. My wife was like, "I'm exhausted after chasing a 7-year-old around."
So you'll like
What'd you
this,
do?
just a little, just like a little extra Halloween stuff. So we watched Bram Stoker's Dracula on Halloween night, and I'd never seen it before. This is the old one with Gary Oldman as Dracula, and
Winona
Anthony
Ryder.
Hopkins, Winona Ryder. Yeah,
How could you have not
Man,
seen? How could you have not seen this when that is like
because
Winona
I'm
Ryder
uncultured.
peak?
Because I'm
Peak.
uncultured fine. That's why. No, dude, like what a freaking entertaining movie. Such a good time. It was completely bonkers. I mean, Anthony Hopkins is Van Helsing, and he's like whipping it around. It's so great. And Gary Oldman, man,
He's
him as
great in it.
Dracula was that was cool. Keanu Reeves freaking sucked. It was so funny. It was so funny. But yeah, seeing why not, like all the big names in that one, it was like really impressive.
I mean, it was a Francis
Yeah.
Ford Coppola movie, right?
Oh yeah, it was
And
bonkers, man.
it was
bonkers.
completely bonkers, and I actually saw that movie in theaters as a little kid. My mom and dad took me to, which I'm pretty. It wasn't like I don't think it's appropriate. I was probably like my daughter's age, I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but it was pretty weird, man. I like it. I still like it. I think it's got like. I don't know. There's like Lucy, and she's got the red hair. It's pretty hot, dude. I'm not gonna lie. That's seared into my brain.
Yeah, the red hair is perfect. But no, I think my favorite line is after they kill Lucy, and Van Helsing's like
Tia's right. Like the whole Lucy part sticks into your brain. I remember like I haven't seen it in over a decade. And it's like Lucy, and then she's like ripping her bodice open and her tits are hanging out, and then like it's I don't know. I liked it.
Like what did you do to Lucy? And like, well, we ran a stake through her heart and chopped her head off. And he just like says it so matter of factly, like
she comes holding the baby. She comes down the stairs into the crib holding the baby.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Like, it's pretty good.
Nah, I think my favorite thing is how Van Helsing goes from just like this kind of creepy X-Files Mulder style kind of doctor dude, and then straight up Latin warrior monk, like just beating people to death with crosses. Like, what the fuck? It's just so entertaining. Such a good time. And again, Gary Oldman, man, doing like the old creepy Dracula, and then like the young, like every time he was on screen, especially as young Dracula, I was thinking of that note you posted like a long time ago. Do you remember this? Where people were ripping on Dracula, and you're just like, yeah, you just can't handle the Romanian Riz. Like that's what it is.
I know. It's
like
what it is.
It's just anti-Romanian propaganda because we're too good with women.
It
like,
is. It's like he comes there. He rolls around on his ship. It's like, oh god, like do you understand the effort this dude had to do? He had to get a ship in on the Black Sea. All right, so he had to travel from Transylvania, which is in the west of Romania, probably down the Danube, and then he had to have all that like that soil, because Transylvania is a region of like Romania, Moldova, right? And he had to bring this soil from a specific, like, the equivalent of an American state across state lines to the port city on the east on the Black Sea. Then he had to get onto the Demeter, which was a Russian ship, if I remember correctly. Then he had to sail. He had to sail all the way down from the Black Sea through like the Bosphorus over there, the strait right next to Constantinople.
The
Bosphorus Strait, through the Bosphorus Strait, into the Mediterranean, through the Strait of Gibraltar, and then north the Atlantic, all the way to London, right?
Yeah, and then he pops off the boat looking like $1,000,000 and just sleeps with all the women. Like,
Yeah,
no
yeah,
big deal. No big deal.
yeah.
Just
And then
Tuesday.
he's
Tuesday.
got his soil. He's just an investor. He was investing in London real estate, and
Uh,
he sees Winona Ryder. I mean, look, for Winona Ryder, I too would travel across the Black
yeah,
Sea, the
100%.
Mediterranean, and
Time and
the
space.
Atlantic,
Time
right?
and space. But yeah, we did a Beetlejuice Dracula uh double feature. So that
That's
was
double
cool.
Winona. That
Yeah,
that that
double
right
Winona
there,
Ryder.
like those two movies right there, like wrecked my brain, right? When I was young, because like I said, like I had like freaking Winona as like she was like a preteen or a teenager in Beetlejuice, right? And I was like, I don't know, 6 years old when I first saw that movie. So I was like, okay, well, there goes my prototype of girl. And
Yeah.
then I've
Yep.
got
Been
freaking
chasing that girl ever
Dracula a
since.
few years later, and I'm just like, well, fuck me, I'm ruined. Like my brain is just rotted, And then people
Yep.
go, oh, you're like the only person in the world that finds that girl from The Craft attractive, I'm like, shut up. I think she's pretty hot. The bad,
Yeah.
what's her
Yeah.
name? Feruza
Yeah.
Balk or whatever. She's also
Yeah.
in American History X as like the crazy Nazi chick, and then she's in a few other things.
Yeah.
But that's what my wife just brought me some iced tea. Thank you so much.
Ah, delicious.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I
I
can
think
watch now.
as far as the chick in The Craft, I gotta be honest. Winona Ryder would be top tier, and then she'd be Plan B.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Now
yeah.
I didn't do much. Like I said, I'm not a huge Halloween decorator, and this year I've just been low energy. I put up my Harry Potter inflatables, right? And the Harry
Wait,
Potter
Harry
inflatables.
Potter inflatables?
Yeah, I got those like those like Halloween things where like you plug them in and there's a little fan that sucks in air and they blow up.
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
they're lawn inflatables.
Yeah.
That's what I have. I have like one of all the Harry Potter characters. But when I took him down the other day, Mr. Potter, he lost it. He got a hole in him. So I throw him in the trash. I'm pretty sad. So next year I have to change my decor. I have to be like, I'm excited though that the last season of Stranger Things comes out, right? And I enjoy Stranger Things. I mean, I know it's kind of basic. This is basic bitch Alex talking, right? But I like Stranger Things. All right. It's like the only Netflix show I actually like. My wife and daughter did watch the Wednesday one, and that looks pretty entertaining. But I don't know. All that kind of stuff just gets in the way of playing Arc Raiders.
True. I can appreciate that. Yeah, when it comes to video games, I haven't played anything new. I got nothing new going on. I did really appreciate seeing the American federal government Halo post. That was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah, especially as like an old school Bungie fan, like going back. It's like good times. Anyway,
wait. Sam asked me, "Do I like Christmas time?" Christmas time is my favorite time. You know why Christmas time is my favorite time?
Time is great.
Well, the number one reason Christmas time is my favorite time is because it is the birth of our Lord.
Yeah,
that's number one.
Christ,
the other reason is that I like all the vibes, man. I like Christmas vibes. Like,
yeah,
Christmas is cool. Even when you look at Christmas from like a completely secular kind of vibe way, I like Christmas because it is it's kind of, I don't know what it is about Christmas. It has this like melancholy vibe to it. You know what I mean?
Really?
Like Christmas has like I mean, the most suicides happen around Christmas, right? Like
yeah, I suppose.
Right. There's a lot of suicides around Christmas. There's just this there's like a melancholiness to it that I like actually. And I like Christmas parties. I like, you know what time I really like, and this is really weird, maybe because I might be the only person in the whole world that likes this. I actually really like that week between Christmas and New Year's.
That's a good one. That's a great week.
It's like
nothing going on.
It's like a weird week,
space.
Yeah, I like it. I like it where you're like,
yeah, it's
okay.
you've got the Black Lodge, the White Lodge, and then that week between Christmas and New Year's.
Right.
It's
Just,
of the same essence.
I actually did a Christmas in Chicago a few years, well, many years ago now, and I thought Chicago around Christmas time was pretty beautiful. It now for you guys, I think Fisto, you're from Ohio, so you've
Great
had
Lakes,
white
sir.
Christmases.
The whitest of Christmases.
I grew up in California, and for some reason, if you grew up in Southern California, Christmas is just always the sunniest day ever. Like there's never like you never have like a cold Christmas. Even if you're having like a cold snap in Southern California, um you have like the 25th of December, you walk out in the morning and it is just palm trees, you know, 82 degrees, and it's just always a beautiful day. So to me it's kind of cool to have like that, like Home Alone Christmas. I liked Christmas in Chicago because, well, I like the movie Home Alone, and it's another one of like those
Yeah.
childhood movies that I watched a lot growing up. And Home
Yeah.
Alone was like mostly, at least the exteriors and stuff, was in Evanston, which is like a kind of a suburb north of Chicago. And I was like walking around Evanston and stuff, around Christmas. And then you go downtown and like there's like the Magnificent Mile, which is like, I don't know if you've ever been to Chicago. It's like a
Yeah.
fucking road downtown
Yeah.
and all these big
I've been to
buildings.
Chicago several times.
Yeah. Also, one of my favorite Christmas movies is, and it's not Die Hard, guys. Don't think.
Why not? Why not?
I mean,
why not?
I like Die Hard, but it's not my favorite movie. My favorite Christmas movie is actually Batman Returns. It's true, right?
You're like dogging on Die Hard, and then, but Batman Returns, magnificent film.
No, but Batman Returns is great, right? Like it's got like, let's see what Copernican made. It's got this like, actually, I think both Batman movies have the Christmas, right?
Yeah, they do.
I really like that scene in Batman Returns when Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman is hanging out with Bruce Wayne, and they're like at that party, and they're like they say the mistletoe line, and then that's when they both realize that like he's Batman and she's Catwoman.
Right.
Such a great scene. Those are the best Batmans. They're the second best Batmans overall. First best Batman is the animated series, but yeah, I really like Batman Returns for a Christmas movie. I've always have. My daughter thought it was kind of scary, which is weird. She's not scared of anything, but she was afraid of the penguin. She's like, ugh. And she got skeeved out by the penguin. The first time she saw it. The second time she's like, that's gay. But it's like it's always good.
You got to be careful looking at this thing that Copernican made. It's Halo posting, and we would just have dead air for probably about 2 minutes while we watch this thing, because I'm already like, yes, the mugs, the chatting mugs.
I'll have to look at it. I have to look at it later then.
Yeah, definitely check it out later. That'll be funny.
Well, so in the chat, guys, I'm gonna read when I answer the chat. I'm just gonna read it out. That way, people that listen to it not live will know. Jason McGinty in the chat says, at some point when you're a kid, you learn that the anticipation of opening presents is actually better than the presents themselves. The melancholy comes from knowing the post Christmas letdown is coming. I mean, yeah, I can see that, right? I feel like, okay, so here, I'll be serious for a second, right? One reason Christmas is kind of melancholy for me is because my dad passed away around Christmas, right? I was actually Christmas shopping when I got a call that my dad died, and I always kind of like, since I was 19 when my dad passed away, and I never like, it always had that melancholy kind of feel to it. And now that I'm older, there's a lot of joy in Christmas because I get to share it again with my daughter, and that's really fun now. Like, but I always think back of like when I was a little kid. Like it's hard not to like reflect on when you're a little kid and like how you're having a good time with your family and all those get-togethers, and then you start thinking of people that aren't there anymore. Like your grandparents aren't there anymore, and that kind of stuff. And one of my oldest memories is I remember I have this like very vivid memory of I had to have been like four years old, and I was at my grandma's house, and this is back in Bucharest. And my dad, it's like, let's go sledding. And he takes me to the park, and it's this big central park, kind of like park, right? And it was called the Chishmiju Gardens. And I went there recently, 2 years ago. Took my daughter there. My dad takes me there. We were sledding all day, and I come back, and there's all these presents everywhere. Because while we were gone, my mom and like grandma and grandpa were all like, putting presents together. And then like my grandpa wasn't there, and Santa Claus came, and he was dressed as Santa Claus and brought presents. I remember that. So there's this melancholy where like I remember like better times. At the same time, like I'm having good times with my family now, and it's like heartwarming. So it's kind of a mix of both. It's just that's why like I don't know. There's just like reflective melancholy quality to it that I don't know. It always kind of got me. And there's something about like the decorations and the cold and like fire and like kind of coziness to it that just is just really like the peak holiday. And that's besides the religious part, and because I really
Right.
enjoy the religious aspect of it.
Yeah.
But I also really like Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is my favorite like secular American holiday. I really enjoy Thanksgiving. And
Yeah.
what I've been doing the last few years for Thanksgiving is my wife and I have been kind of hosting people, and we've been inviting people over. And last year, we do I actually like cook a pretty good turkey. I'm actually pretty good at it, but maybe
You're Romanian. You're good at everything.
no, I'm not.
So
My cooking is moderate. Okay, like it's moderate. All right. I taught myself how to cook recently. Actually, right. It's not something I'm talented in. I didn't know how to turn a stove on like 7 years ago, to be honest. I didn't know shit, right? Like my mom cooked everything, and my grandma cooked everything, my dad cooked everything. And when my wife was pregnant with my daughter, I was like, okay, I cannot be useless, right? I have to be able to like cook because she's going to be pregnant, and when the baby comes, she's going to be taking care of the baby, and I'm not going to be a useless dude that doesn't know how to cook. So while she was pregnant, I started teaching myself how to cook, and I started to like learn the different like the different tools and the different like crock pots and cookeries and like mixers, and I like it. I like it, like I enjoy it, right? And I actually do the majority of the cooking at home right now because my wife does not like. My wife is a fantastic cook. She's amazing. She just hates it, right? So I just kind of like take over, you know, she like, like she doesn't like to do it, even though she's great. So I just kind of took over, and I enjoy doing it. I really
there
enjoy
you go.
cooking. But
There
a
you
few
go.
years ago, I got to the point where I was making some really, I was on my turkey game was peak, right?
Yeah.
And but one Thanksgiving, I would say maybe 3 to 4 years now, I got shingles. Right? I got shingles, and but let me tell you, man, shingles fucking sucks. It is like one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. Like it's just like your skin has like a blisters on it, and it boils,
Ugh.
and it like hurts, and you have like a
Ugh.
fever and stuff. So I was like out. Like I'm like
Lord.
I'm not having anybody over. I'm not cooking or any of this stuff. So my wife ended up going to Cracker Barrel and ordering like their turkey, like their turkey
Ooh.
dinner meal. Like you can
Yeah.
order like a group meal type thing. And we ordered that, and it was actually really good. I was like, huh, that's pretty easy. So we kind of started doing that every year ever since then. And now what we do is we have people over, and we go out and order the giant like catered turkey and everything with all the stuff. And I buy a bunch of wine, and everybody comes over. We eat turkey. I drink a bunch of wine. I act like an asshole for a bit, and we play board games. Last year we played this game called Resistance, which is really good. It's like a party kind of board game. It's like it's a party game plus for like nerdy people, but it's like one of those betrayal games where you have to lie and stuff.
Yeah.
And we're just
My
yelling at
favorite.
each other, and then I'm on my third bottle of wine, and then somebody puts on Selena on the stereo, and then we're listening to like Mexican corrido, like murder ballads and stuff. Yeah, it's always fun. It's always fun, right?
Sounds like an
So,
experience. Sounds like an experience.
yeah.
Yeah, for me, Christmas has that melancholy bit because it is winter. I always enjoyed running the gauntlet from Thanksgiving to Christmas because it's just like good food, and growing up in Northeast Ohio, you might get, nice snowfall and all that idyllic stuff. I want to comment slightly on what Sarm shared regarding people who don't like Thanksgiving. As a direct descendant of pilgrims, I love Thanksgiving because I get to dunk on all the people we conquered. So that makes the turkey extra tasty in my mind. Just
Well,
settler colonial turkey, delicious.
You know what about that comment is? I just want people, like, okay, here's the thing. I want people to shut the fuck up. Okay. All right. Like, do you remember last episode? All right, we're equal opportunity. Shut up, retard. Okay.
Yes.
Last episode,
everyone.
I was like, stop with this like Halloweenish, satanic, pagan nonsense.
Yeah, everybody
shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Let the kids go out and enjoy candy and costumes and be out for the night. Shut up.
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
If you want to be like a super born again Christian Protestant and not do Halloween, that's fantastic. Why don't you just shut up about it? Just shut up. Just shut it. Close your mouth. Nobody wants to hear it. I don't care. All right. If you don't like Thanksgiving because the pilgrim, first of all, Thanksgiving is fake. It wasn't celebrated and invented until like after the Civil War, right? But
Whatever.
anyways,
that's fine.
If you don't like it, it's a great holiday. It's a great excuse to get together with your friends and family and have a good time and be thankful. Right? That's really what it's about. Right?
Yeah.
If you don't like it and you feel like you need to tell me about the natives and Squanto and blah blah blah, right? Which is all a load of shit, by the way, right? Just shut up. Just shut up. Nobody cares. Shut up about it. Okay. If I wanted to hear it, I would sign up for your, college level, entry level, Northeastern United States history class that you're teaching. But if you're not teaching it, then shut up. Nobody cares. All right. We get it. You're cool. My entire life I've heard it. Columbus Day. Every day. You get Martin Luther King Day and you have people going, oh, Martin Luther King sucked. Shut up. I don't care. I get a day off. Shut up. Okay? Like, I don't care.
I get a day off. You can't be half bad, right?
Quit your mouth. I'm going to celebrate Juneteenth because I get a day off. Don't care. Shut up. I don't care. Just be quiet. I don't want to hear any. If it's a holiday where I get to spend time with my friends and family, I like it. So you shut your mouth and that's it. Okay? Like, I'll celebrate Chinese New Year. I'll celebrate all the years. Just shut up about it. Okay. I don't want to hear it. Like, it is so tedious. It's 2025. I am so tedious.
Zin's kicking in. I can hear it. The Zin's kicking in.
No, I'm so tired of all these like freaking like, oh, well, did you know that? Blah, blah, blah. No, I don't. I knew that. Everybody knows that. Be quiet. Nobody cares. Be quiet. Let people enjoy stuff. Be quiet. All right. Like, I'm tired of it. You know what I mean, dude? Like, just shut your fucking mouth and let me eat my turkey in peace. Okay. Like, when you learn like the stuff in like Thanksgiving, right? Like, oh, the pilgrims came in, they didn't know how to farm, and like the Native Americans taught them. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You're telling me that the religious fundamentalists from Europe that were kicked out of like 6 countries, living in like early modern England, didn't know how to farm? Yeah. Okay, bro. Shut up. That's retarded.
I have the family history books. They were farmers. They knew how to farm. They knew how to do stuff. They knew how to. You're telling me that Europeans didn't know how to bury dead stuff under the soil? Okay, like, because they haven't been farming since the Stone Age. Like, okay, just it's a cute story for children. Be quiet. Just be quiet. All right. Like, the whole midwintery around all the holidays I've reached like peak. I don't care to even hear it anymore. Christmas is not a pagan holiday. Halloween is not a pagan holiday. I don't need your smart boy, girl that reads good girl comments. Okay. Shut up. Shut up. Okay. Yeah. Really just, we have to normalize not letting people use I'm autistic for cover to just be a dick.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Right.
That's what it is.
I'm not American. I'm not even American. Right. I am. Yeah. There is no Thanksgiving in Romania. There's nothing to be thankful for except our good looks and high IQs. Right. Like, you just like, but I love it. And I've always loved it because I like to sit around with my family and enjoy a meal. I don't need to hear your opinions. You know what the best thing that I've done in the last 2 weeks? I think I've been on Substack like twice. I think the last time I was on Substack before today, was when I uploaded like the last episode, the one with Lisa, right?
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed having Lisa on. We just need to have Lisa on every day. She just needs to hang out. I don't know if she's in the chat, but if she is, hello, Lisa.
Lisa's great to have on because it's kind of a day off for me. I just get to surf and just listen to beautiful things get said.
And she's got a good voice. We sound like we sound like Frog and Toad over here, and then Lisa comes up and
absolutely.
She's got this like radio voice with that like continental Canadian accent to it, you know, like okay. But anyways, yeah. It's tedious, and like joy kills are tedious, man. It's just don't be that person. Nobody cares anymore. Yeah. Do you remember that book? Maybe that I think it came out when I was like in high school. It was called like Lies My Teacher Told Me or something like that. Do you remember that book? Mm-hmm. Right. And it was basically like
no, actually it rings a bell, but I never read it.
Yeah. It was called Lies My Teacher Told Me and blah blah blah. And it was basically like a history of the United States or something like that. And it was this kind of shit-lib book where like it deconstructs like it deconstructs like American history and like Christmas and Thanksgiving, blah blah blah, right? Well, it's like an entire generation of people took that book and made it their entire personality, right? Remember the whole like debunking everything, like let's debunk everything. How about you debunk your face, motherfucker? That's what like shut up, nobody cares. Like I don't know. And I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, people should just do it. No, it's just shut up. No, you're just being an autistic retard and nobody cares, right? And Melancholy Yuga, Romanians are not swarthy, bro. Like I grew up with blonde hair most of my life until my hair got darker. I've got green eyes. And my DNA is basically 100% Eastern European, and half my family is blonde. But interesting enough, right? But anyways, right?
Anyways,
we're going to have good time for the holidays. And for you guys listening, this is our penultimate episode of season 2. Next week, we are going to have the 40th episode of season 2, which is a good one to end it in. Last year, we kind of set the precedent of ending the season right before Thanksgiving. That way we can be thankful that we don't have to talk for a month. And then starting up the season right before Christmas. So I think we're going to stick to it. I like that idea. I looked it up today and I was like, oh, it is our penultimate episode. And 40 is a good one. You don't want to go over 40. And we're going to do a retrospective. We're going to talk about all the things that we talked about all year. So we're going to be like a 17-hour episode straight. 17 hours prepared. No, we're not doing it.
It's going to be like Vladimir Putin getting interviewed by Tucker.
Yeah.
Back in 485 when whatever the hell that random dude was like, yo, and 75 hours later, but a brief divergence that lasts 16 hours.
Yeah. It's like, well, to explain to you the current crisis going on in Eastern Europe, we have to start with Troy. Just you go on from there.
I pulled that in class this week. Kinda, but because you got to remember I'm teaching high school freshmen. But they just took their government test and it went really, really, really badly. So I'm having most of them kind of do like a reset, kind of do like a back to basics, like how you're supposed to act in school. And I've decided to do it by doing a unit on 9/11.
Okay. All right.
So I was looking for like a palate cleanse, and the way it works, like for folks that aren't teachers, in Florida, you've got standards, and it's this list of shit that you're supposed to teach for every class. And one of the standards for my government class is, hold on, I want to see if I can quote it from memory. Analyze the reaction of the United States and the world after the significant events of September 11. Like, how freaking broad is that, man?
Right.
And for someone like me, that's goddamn. That is kid in a candy store. I'm like, here we go.
We're gonna go.
Yeah, do that for.
And it was fortuitous, right? Because old Dick Cheney got picked up by Lucifer and taken straight to hell. So
so clearly, this was written in the heavens. But I started the unit, and it's great because the kids are like, "What?" I started the unit with the end of the Cold War, and I throw up a newspaper clipping of Mikhail Gorbachev, that famous one that says Mikhail Gorbachev resigns as the president of a country that no longer exists. And I was like, "Okay, guys, we're going to start learning." They're like, "Why are we learning about this?" Because of the context. And then I get that like Charlie Day history meme when he's got all the Pepe Evil behind him, all that stuff. That's just
Well, I
been me
mean,
for the past 3
and
days.
I mean, ultimately, it is proper context, right? Because it
It
was,
is.
after all,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you want
You
to
got to
be fair,
understand.
the
Yeah.
the the kicking off of really of Glasnost and the Perestroika stuff was due to the Soviet Union, having a rough time in Afghanistan, where
Right.
you know
Oh, I'm setting that up. I'm setting that
well,
up 100%. I'm going to be like,
we were
guess what,
funding and
guys?
training the
Yeah.
Mujahideen, right? I like that
Exactly.
word, Mujahideen,
The
right?
Mujahideen.
And
Yeah.
we were giving
Graveyard of
them,
Empires, baby. Yeah.
anti-air missiles, right? Like uh to knock down like Russian Hinds. And after that, like
Oh, I
that,
can't wait.
that like economically depressed the Soviet Union, and it led to
Right.
like an openness,
Yep.
which eventually led to the collapse of the
Collapse.
Soviet Union
Yeah.
and the Eastern Bloc. With the collapse of the Soviet Union, you had a bunch of military weapons and crime and stuff spread all over that whole area. You had the
Yeah.
Balkan Wars, which kicked off due to the collapse
Oh, yeah.
of the
Well, and
Yugoslavia. In Yugoslavia, the United States
yeah.
also funded and trained Al Qaeda operatives, aka
Yep.
Bin Laden, in
Yeah.
Serbia and in Albania, which later,
Yeah.
then once that ended, they became Al Qaeda, and then the Mujahideen Taliban fighters. I mean, when I was in Afghanistan, there was Russian tanks like strewn all over that place, man. There was like a bunch of like, I remember real close to where my patrol base was, there was like this field, and there was like 4 BMPs, like just rusted up
Oh,
like
wow.
BMP like shells, like
Historical artifacts, my friend.
yeah. We never
That's
could go by
fantastic.
them because we were told that there's IEDs all over the damn thing. So they're like, yeah, don't go
Oh,
near those things.
yeah.
But I
Yeah,
mean,
probably. 'Cause you're gonna get all these history nerds who are like, "Oh man, it's a Russian BM," and then get the face blown
just get
off.
freaking yeated. So there's a
Just get yeeted.
lot of like, yeah, you can connect that all
Yeah.
the way back to Troy if you really wanted to. Like,
Well, first we have to start with the Garden of Eden.
right, it
And
all goes back there.
yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. But I'm really looking forward to Monday because like my goal is tomorrow I'm going to talk about. So today I talked about the international stuff, and I was talking about Yugoslavia and the Gulf War, and all the things. Basically, the United States flexing its unipolar cock and smacking everybody with it.
You know,
And then tomorrow I'm going to talk about the domestic situation with like globalism and the World Trade Organization, like all the things like, and just setting up to. And then Monday, all we're going to do Monday is they're going to come in, and I found this really great 10-minute documentary that is complete. It's not even a documentary. It's clips from 9/11, and it's all the famous clips, and they just knit it together in a way that's like, holy shit. So I'm just going to throw that on and be like, all right, guys, let's talk about it. So what do you think?
how
And it
how
ends with,
wild how
yeah,
wild is it that you're teaching kids that were not even alive for it?
yeah, no, they're born a decade. Yeah, yeah, my students are born a decade after this. Ah, dude, it's been a lot of fun, and the questions that they're answering, or the questions that they're asking, the stuff they're asking, it's great stuff. They're like, why are we learning this? Why is the world like this? What's going on? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? I could talk about like the IMF, the G7, like development, quote unquote. Like, come on, guys, here's the real stuff.
How old are you? How old are your kids? Like your
They're high
students?
school freshmen. They're all 14 and 15.
14. So what year were they born? 2000.
2011 and 2010.
Okay. So the equivalent of that for me would be 9/11. The distance between 9/11 and their birth would be like 1969 to my birth, basically. So like the
Yeah,
hippies and all that stuff to, oh my God.
yeah.
Damn, Jason,
Well,
you're
yeah, we were both.
young.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah, well, compared to us,
2011.
a couple of old fucks.
I graduated high school in 2002.
2000, baby. Last class of the 20th
2002.
century. Eat it.
Yeah.
Eat it, all y'all.
But that's wild, man. You think about it, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Cool.
like what was it like? You know, like I told you when we were watching Back to the Future the other day with my daughter, and the distance that Marty McFly traveled back in time from 1983 or wherever the hell the year he was in
Yeah.
to the 50s.
1985. 1985.
It's big. That space, that chunk of time from 1985 to 1955, where he goes back in time.
Yeah.
That block is smaller than the distance between 1985 and today. So
Yep.
like the present to Marty McFly is actually confusing to somebody like my daughter, who you have to explain like all the weird stuff in 1985, which is like the baseline.
Yeah.
You're supposed to know everything that's going on in like the present of Marty McFly. But half that stuff doesn't make any sense to my daughter because, well, that's literally longer time span than Marty McFly travels back in time. So which is wild. You know, you look back and you're like, bro, like that is way back in time.
Yeah.
What was I thinking? Oh, so on Tuesday,
So where are we going with this?
No, but it's the same topic. On Tuesday, my daughter didn't have school, right? And I was like, well, why the hell doesn't she have school? And I was like, oh, they have a day off. Well, South Carolina gives you a day off for Election Day.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Which I didn't know. I'm like, oh, cool, a day off.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
So they had a day off. I mean, I didn't vote or anything.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that there was an election. I've been busy playing Arc Ridge. But I look online today. I'm like looking through things, and I'm like, turns out that the most exciting election thing was that what's his name won, right? Over in New York.
Zoran Derbdani. Yeah.
Yeah. I just really
he won in New York City.
I haven't been following that at all. I just don't care about New York City, which is really interesting because you talk about, and I'm tying it in here with 9/11. I feel like after 9/11, everybody cared about New York City. And now to me, I couldn't give a fuck about New York City. You know, I just like, I don't know, whatever. They're just weird. Let them do their own thing. You know, I have a sad feeling that if 9/11 happened today, people would be like, yeah, whatever, fucking New York City, you know?
Well, yeah,
which is
100%.
Which is sad.
Yeah, that's what's so interesting about starting this unit, you know, and going back and tracing things through the 90s. The thing I keep hammering home is how powerful the United States was in the 1990s, and it was the most powerful human empire in history, probably more powerful than all the others combined. And that's not even being chauvinistic. That's just straight up like facts, you know.
Like the end of history, bro.
Yeah, I talked about that on Tuesday. I brought that up. I was like, okay, guys, hey, Francis Fukuyama. He's like, you're all just going to be bored. You're going to be hanging out. You're going to be buying stuff. You're going to be hanging, you know, you're going to be solving technical problems, and there's nothing left to fight about, you know? So isn't that just great? And it's funny because I read that part, and then the kids are like, that sounds boring. And I'm like, yeah, Fukuyama agrees with you. And then I read the end of the, you know, read the end of the essay with them. But what's cool about it is like they see that and they get that. And what I'm hoping is they're going to see just how much 9/11 was. I mean, it's a complicated event. Like the bear got poked, you know, the bear got poked in a big way. That at the end of that video, I'm going to show it. It's got that famous scene where Bush is sitting there with the firefighter, and he's like, you know, we hear you, we see you, and the guy and people that did this, they're going to hear from us real soon. And 2 months later, shit's fucking popping off. You know, like how quickly did we get into Afghanistan after 9/11? Was it like a month or two? Like just a couple of months?
It was definitely within a year.
Yeah, like just think about that, man. Think about that. Yeah. Where you've got the president of the United States standing on the rubble of this thing, and a month later we are fucking up in their grills, freaking killing people.
Right, like, but then you look back.
What kind of world is this?
Yeah, but you look back at it, you know, and then it was 20 years of like impotence.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Like
exactly.
And
that's what makes this so terribly fascinating.
Yeah, the bear got poked, but he ended up having really rotted ass cavity teeth, you know, and ended up not doing much. Just kind of, you know, a little bit of a bull in a china shop, but ultimately in the end, everything's still the same status quo.
Oh yeah, no, it was October 7th, less than a month later.
Yeah, and then you had the famous mission accomplished thing or whatever. And you're like what a clown show that the whole thing was. You know,
one of my kids asked me, when they caught Bin Laden, and I told them what happened, and they were like, "That's thug." I was like, "Yeah, man. Welcome to the world, guys." Like, oh, did they put him on trial? I'm like, the fuck they did. Put
when they caught when they caught Bin Laden, and if I had my camera on, you'd see my air quotes when they caught Bin Laden, and they magically dropped him off the side of a destroyer, and there was magically no videotapes, because we all know Navy SEALs don't like videoing themselves, because if you live in San Diego, Navy SEAls get kicked out of being Navy SEALs for doing OnlyFans porn videos once a week. And so the guys notoriously known to carry freaking GoPros everywhere they go magically forgot to turn all their cameras on. And
I don't even want to I don't even want to think about what happened to that.
And his body came off the destroyer. They gave him an at-sea burial. Shut the fuck up. Okay, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but trust me, I don't buy that shit a minute. The whole Bin Laden thing was a crock of shit.
Even if that's really what happened, like, and I'm gonna approach it from kind of a normie sort of, I gotta approach it from a normie sort of thing, because they got to get the basic story before they start getting into any kind of out there stuff.
Before we discuss steel beams and USS Liberty.
Yeah, right, exactly. But like, even if what happened as advertised, that's still pretty like. It's did history end? Yeah, obviously not. Obviously not. There are things to be fight about. There are things to be fought about still.
Right.
Which is good though, because it shows the world isn't dead at the end of the day. Like, people fight about this stuff because it's important and because it matters. And if there's nothing to fight about, and if history, and we just sat around and bought shit off Amazon all day, I mean, that kind of sounds like Antichrist hell as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
So, hey, whatever.
Like I said, I'm not a huge conspiracy theory dude, but that's one story I've always been like, okay, okay, like, sure there, bros. Like, you just shot him and threw him off the boat. You bothered to put his body on a ship and fly. Like, I don't know if you looked at a map, but there's not a lot of water around Afghanistan, right?
Well, he was found in Pakistan, wasn't he? Outside of Islamabad,
on the border,
supposedly.
Yeah, on the border, and they flew him to a destroyer. They flew his body to a destroyer, and like, come on, we're stretching, okay?
I'm looking at a map here. I'm looking at a map because I actually want to see. Yeah, that's a bit of a haul. That's a bit of a haul, because
so they shot this dude. Yeah, they shot this dude in a compound. Yeah. Right, and they dragged his body up into a Black Hawk and flew his body onto a destroyer far as fuck away, and then they threw his body in the water. Like, come on, dude, you're stretching the believability of any. Like, have we ever done anything like that in the history of the United States? No, never. It was a Barack Obama media coup.
Oh yeah,
right. It was like, I'm ending this war, and finally, I mean,
we got
to be honest.
Oh, look at me, I'm great.
Yeah, like, it was basically Barack Obama's version of like George Bush declaring mission accomplished on the aircraft carrier.
Right.
It's like, no, I don't buy it.
Right.
I don't. Yeah. I feel like
What do you think really happened? What do you think really happened?
Well, okay, this is conspiracy theory. This is just theory. This is not even like conspiracy. This is Alex theory. Okay, I think that I am skeptical of Al Qaeda. Period. Right.
Oh, okay.
I'm skeptical of. Well, I'm skeptical of the Taliban itself. I don't think there was any. I think a lot of it was media manufactured. We needed a bad guy at the end of history, and I think. I just don't think that like they were. I don't think either Al Qaeda or the Taliban was this well organized, oiled machine. We were so obsessed, especially in the George Bush era, with having the axis of evil, and we wanted to fight the Nazis again, but the Islamo-fascists or whatever. Right. And, Islamists are just not that, dude. They're all mostly retarded for the most part. And they can't, they can't muster any type of real, opposition. And a lot of it was just like, okay, so when I was in Afghanistan, everybody was in the Taliban one day, and then nobody was in the Taliban the next day. They would just swap flags outside their houses whenever they felt like it, right? So they were in the Taliban when the Taliban came around, and they were anti-Taliban when we came around with money. They were opportunists.
When we came around with money.
basically, right? And like we were like, oh, like Taliban Joe is building the bridge that we're paying for, and he's like our ally. And the next day, he's in the Taliban popping off shots because the Taliban's paying them to pop off shots. We had
Yeah.
rules of engagement where we were told that we cannot fire back if somebody takes pop shots at us from far away. We're not supposed to fire back on them, and the reason was because the Taliban or forces, would be like would pay these guys a few $100 to take pop shots at us and maybe kill one person or something, right? And we knew that these guys were just doing it for the money. So you had Muhammad Joe out there, the farmer. He'd come out with some like Mohsen Nagant from like 1919, right? That his like great grandpapa, the Mujahideen, that probably used it to fight against the British in the 19th century, right? And he'd take a pop shot from like, I don't know if the round hit you, it probably wouldn't even like scratch you so far away, right? And he would drop the gun and run, right? And the whole point was to collect that paycheck. So we're not going to sit here and like drop a freaking tomahawk or like artillery round onto him, So it was just like whatever, dude. Who cares,
Whatever. He's just having a good time. Let him be the hero.
Where he's making his money, he's making his $50 or whatever.
One time Taliban Tom, fought the oppressor.
They were all Taliban, every single one of them, and the Taliban was this nebulous thing, It's like I think it was this sinister organization of masterminds. I think that was a lot of a media creation, and of course, we yearn for like a Hitler. The greatest thing that everybody wants is Hitler. We want Hitler, right? We
want G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe. We want
and
Cobra.
We've been trying to make all these like people into Hitler, right? And unfortunately, we try to make what's his name? Saddam Hussein into like Islamic Hitler, and everybody's Hitler, and it's just not that interesting, It's just there's really like no, even
liberal
like
democracy needs
Putin is Hitler. You need like the evil Hitler, Putin, Stalin,
you need
like
the devil.
You need the devil, right? And I think a lot of it is made up. I mean, I'm sure there was a real Osama bin Laden. I'm sure he did have a lot to do, and I'm sure the Saudis paid, all that stuff. I just think he probably died a long time ago.
Maybe.
Like
I mean, my take on it is that I think the event itself, it was probably like that was all of the competent Al Qaeda guys in like one shot, and they basically did a hold my beer and watch this, and just because of the relatively open and trusting society that we have or had at the time, they were able to just take advantage of it, and it worked. And they probably went, "Oh shit, that worked! Oh no!"
But then a year later, you have ISIS take over the entire Middle East.
Right. Exactly.
And was that Hitler too? It's just and then you have Al Shabaab, and you have all these. It's always these like organizations that are nebulous and vague that are like great evil, And I'm not saying that these people are enemies or not evil, but I think that our media mindset is so geared towards that like World War II, post World War II, where we need an enemy, where like it is in a way that we kind of. It's not fun to be the top dog when nobody's up, there's no challenge anymore, right? Yeah. Like, you're not buying like, F-22s and stuff if nobody has them. So you got to kind of like play it up. It's like anybody that like is into like military simulation and military like history and stuff knows that when like the United States Navy does like combat trials at sea, right? They always lose, right? It's there. Once a year, you'll see this like news article that's like, oh, the United States 7th Fleet went up against a simulated Chinese Navy and was decimated, blah, 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 sponsored by Northrop Grumman. But you can fix that solution by buying our new surface-to-sea missiles and super expensive taxpayer-funded radar systems, or else you will lose, like this exercise that we did not sponsor, but we did sponsor, and now we did not run and make you lose on purpose. It happens all the time, dude. That's like the oldest trick in like the military industrial complex, right? You need an enemy, because if you have an enemy, you buy weapons, right? And if like no enemies is bad, right? It just I don't know. That's how I buy it.
Makes sense. I think that's a good take, man. I think it's not a bad way to look at it at all.
Right. And so, like I said, I'm telling you guys,
Yeah.
like look historically, look through any of the Army, like Marine Corps, like news. They have like the Navy Times and Marine Corps Times, Army Times, and stuff. Every time there's an exercise, we lose, and that's a great exercise. That's a great piece of paper for a senator to be like, hey, well, I think we should assign $8 billion of taxpayer money into this new Bradley fighting vehicle upgrade, blah blah blah. So yeah, man, that's the game, dude. That's how it works, right? But yeah, so New York elected Madani or whatever. I haven't been following it. I don't know if we have any New Yorkers in here. I don't know if she's
Any
in
New
here.
Yorkers in chat? Any New Yorkers in
We've
chat?
had several New York guests on the podcast, and I am not a huge New Yorker. I've been in New York when I was a little kid, and I've never been back. I feel like New York, though, is a city that we're all very familiar with because, well, we grew up with it on TV, right? Like we all watched Friends, and we watched How I Met Your Mother, and almost a good like 50% of every movie or television show either takes place
Yeah.
in New York or Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So like even like people from like bumfuck like Kentucky are familiar with
New York City. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the city. It's Rome, man. It's the city. New
right.
York City, baby.
And it is like
everybody
the
knows that.
cultural hub, and it's
Yeah.
interesting. I feel like it's lost its cultural impact in the last 20 years or so, but it's still a somewhat important city. And you got your American Psycho and stuff and all that stuff.
I think its importance has diluted and decreased commiserate or in comparison to, or it's inversely correlated with the rise of the internet and just the shattering of culture. When you have a mass media culture that's basically run by the television stations and there's only a few and they're all located in New York City is going to dominate 100%, just like with Hollywood dominating in the movies. But now everything's been so everybody's like, New York, what's that? Never even heard of it. Because you're looking at TikTok going or
well, not only that, but Hollywood itself has priced itself out of entertainment in a way, because you look at a lot of movies used to be filmed in Los Angeles, and because of the really high like production cost and taxes on like films in Los Angeles in the last like 20 years or so, a lot of these like production companies that make television shows and movies aren't filming in New York or Los Angeles because it's expensive, right? And you have states like Georgia, for example, that gives out like tons and tons and tons of tax breaks. That's where you have like Louisiana also, like True Detective, and there's like you can like hop on Netflix or HBO and look at where your television show is filmed, and it's all like in Georgia. Matter of fact, Stranger Things, right? Stranger Things takes place in like the Midwest somewhere, like it's supposed to be. But when I was watching Stranger Things, I was like, wait a second, that doesn't look like the Midwest, right? Like the plants weren't right, like they're running through like the woods, and I'm like, that doesn't look like a very Midwestern like forest, right? And I looked it up, and I'm like, well, shit, guess where it was filmed? Georgia, right? So it's in the South, right? And
Georgia.
a lot of that has to do with tax breaks and stuff. That's why so many like movies where it's like, oh, this takes place in Los Angeles or New York, they're actually filmed in Toronto or in Eastern Europe. You have tons of movies being filmed in Eastern Europe now. That show Wednesday was actually filmed in Romania, and there's tons of movies filmed in Eastern Europe because, well, there's tax breaks and it's cheap. And what they do is they'll film a movie in like a town somewhere in Europe where it's a lot cheaper to film, and then they'll use like CGI and green screen to like throw down some buildings in the background, and it's pretty easy to do. It's pretty easy to make a very convincing, like you can make your backyard like in Florida look like a backyard in California with like minimal CGI work, right? So there's no reason to like film on location unless you're really going for some special effect type thing or an actual like kind of dynamic scene. So yeah, that's very interesting, right? When you think about it, right? It kind of like changes the cultural landscape. Oh, yeah. All right. So elections happened. I didn't pay attention. Don't care. I hope it goes well for the New
Whatever.
Yorkers. Right.
Whatever. Yeah. Good luck,
Um,
guys.
yeah. Have a great time. That's cool. Whatever. You guys, a liberal socialist guy. You guys' buses are going to be free or something, and hobos are going to continue being hobos in New York. I mean, it's not the end of the world. You got the super conservative
No.
guys like, oh my god,
New
there's like
York.
there's people here that are like, you gotta protect everybody because there's gonna be like crazy criminals coming to like rob you at the grocery store because they don't have EBT cards anymore or something. Like, shut up,
Has any of
dude.
that happened, by the way?
No,
Haven't.
I don't think so. That's just Fox News
I've not
stupidity.
seen anything. I've not seen anything. Like
Yeah,
you
that
figured
is
it'd be the
just
kind of thing that would have like popped off, but
yeah. What you do have
whatever.
happening, though, right? Because my wife was at a food bank recently. She went to a food bank because she wanted to like
Mhm.
help out, right? Is in the food bank down here was like, man, we were getting overwhelmed. There's people coming in and like, they need food,
Yeah.
and she got together with the priest at my church, and we donated a bunch, and she spent like all day on Monday like taking like canned goods to the food bank, and she's probably gonna be mad that I even said this because she likes to do that stuff in secret. She never likes to talk about it, but you have people that in need. So I don't know, I think that's what we should be focusing on, right? Not like
Yeah.
this, like we should be focusing on taking care of our neighbors, and that's what our focus should be on.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's great. New Yorkers voted for whoever. That's fine. I don't care. Don't really care. I'm
Yep.
not going to New York
Like
anytime
have
soon.
fun.
Um, but yeah. But what I really want to talk about, let's get to our main topic that we've been kind of like putting
Okay.
aside. There was a
Okay.
very momentous event that happened. A momentous event. One of my
Momentous
proudest
event.
moments, right? Okay.
Okay.
And if so let me tell you real fast.
All right.
I'll tell you why I'm proud of it, right? I'm proud of it for
Okay. All right.
myself. This is my pride, right? So
Okay.
this Sunday, this is not the event. This is a tangential event. And this Sunday, a very close friend of mine, who is awesome, is probably in the chat. He became
Yeah, I
a
think so.
full-blown catechumen in the Orthodox Church, right? And during that time, my priest walked up to us after that. He goes, +1 Alex. And I'm like, thank you, bro. Like, I got some credit for
+1
that.
out.
All right. I got a buff, right? I actually think
Nice.
that I should get 2 because I definitely I should have got an assist on another one, right? But more momentous
It's like a hockey game.
yeah, more momentous than one person becoming a catechumen because of me. I think you want to tell him? Yeah, let's tell him. Let's tell him. Go ahead and tell him.
Oh boy. Yeah, so this past weekend my wife and I converted officially to Orthodoxy. We are now members of the American Orthodox Church. I was chrismated because I was baptized as a baby as a Roman Catholic, so I got chrismated, and then my wife was baptized. So she did the most pagan thing that you can possibly do, which was convert to Christianity. So yeah, what's up, brother? How you doing,
Hey,
brother?
congratulations. Okay.
Yeah,
Now you're
thanks, man.
gonna how's your beard coming along? Is it
Um,
below your chin yet? That's like the rule.
I mean, it's
Once
below
you
my chin. It's below my chin for sure.
yeah,
It's not yet down to my neckline. It's slow going. It's slow going. Uh,
right.
but I am trying to be patient with the development of my internal holiness. Um, but no, yeah, it was kind of a big deal. Actually that happened Saturday. Did first confession, did first communion, did the whole shebang, and I mean, for me personally, it was kind of a long time coming.
Right.
Um, at least as far as like my return to faith, because some people probably know I was Protestant for a very very long time, and then I got burned out on that, and then I spent 20 years wandering the prodigal desert, tasting as much and feeling as much as a man can, before I finally decided to repent. And this is the church that I found myself drawn back to. So be it.
Oh,
Um,
welcome.
yeah, my wife is a lot more surprised. She is, basically a sexy art hoe and comes from theater and like all that kind of stuff. So she's like as surprised as anybody. Like, yeah, I'm an Orthodox Christian now. And she's like, yeah, this is pretty great. Like, yeah, it's. we do all this stuff and the things, and I don't know, man. It's actually kind of hard to. I feel kind of embarrassed talking about it because it's just such like I'm still wrapping my head around it. I'm still trying to wrap my own head around that
Well,
happened, and it was almost like I had no choice in the matter, which I suppose is the idea.
right.
But
We don't have a choice.
yeah,
I mean, you tell me,
really
like, if I met myself 20 years ago and I met Alex of today, it was me in, 2002, I'd be
yeah,
like, what? Get out of here, man. Get out of here, dude. Like, let's go to a bar, bro. No, no. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. It's like, you just, one of the things that I've noticed about the Orthodox Church, which now I guess we're an officially Orthodox Bro podcast.
oh
So I'll
no,
be.
no. Let's try to avoid that. Let's try to avoid Ortho Bro. That is.
We're gonna
I
have
have
to
no
get we're gonna get an email from like what's that Orthodox like network
Oh, is there
the ancient
join the
faith
club?
ancient faith
Yeah,
radio
ancient
is
faith,
gonna
perfect.
send us an email. They're gonna be like, hey, you guys want to be on our nobody's they're never gonna do that. We're too much we're
Right.
too rowdy, we're too unclean.
They're gonna listen to
right?
us, then they're gonna be like, never mind. Never
They're
mind.
like, did
We're
you
no longer
confess
required.
today? Yeah, you're no longer welcome. No, I'm sure they would like us. Right, but yeah, I think one of the things is that you end up finding a church, and you find the church in our case,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
just it just feels right. Like
yeah,
it's interesting.
yeah,
Like when for me it was a return, and for you it was a first time thing. And I remember when you first
yeah.
told me, if I remember how, like, I don't know if you guys remember, but I forgot who was on the podcast where I was like, I'm gonna go to church. I'm gonna go to church. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Right. And I didn't. I didn't for like a few weeks. And then I finally, like, I think it was it was Noah, right? Or no,
I can't remember.
man. It was
I
an
remember
episode.
that conversation though. I remember that conversation.
Yeah,
You
and
were
I was
like,
like,
"It's gonna
okay,
happen.
I'm going for
I'm gonna do it.
sure this
I'm gonna do it.
Sunday.
I'm gonna do it.
And I
I'm gonna do it."
didn't. I didn't. Like, I had excuses and stuff. And I finally went, and for me it was a return. It was a return
Yeah,
home. I was returning after many years of being away. And then eventually, like a few weeks later, you went,
yep.
and you're like, oh, it was perfect. And it's like,
It's awesome.
I was nervous to bring my wife into it. I was like,
Yeah,
she's not going to like it. It's going to be a lot of work. It's, and my wife has taken to it like, man,
yeah,
she loves it. Like, she
yeah.
has
Same
found a
here.
home in it.
Yeah,
And
yeah. That's the
like, I
experience
see that,
I've had too.
I follow your wife on social media too, and I see her stuff all the time, and I'm like, it just warms my heart. Like a little
Yeah, man.
little smile, maybe a little heart emoji appears on my heart. It like stutters for 1 minute, and I'm like, yep, that's cool. And then it goes back to being a frown. But it there's what's exciting about it, I think, is that it's just so like the beginning of a journey. You're like, okay, now I'm
Yeah.
baptized, but now you've got like 10 years to even learn the basics. It's just so much. Like, for you guys that are Protestant, you go to church and it's like, it's pretty simple, but for us, it's like, man, it's like, when you go from being a catechumen to being baptized, it's like going, you like, when you're a catechumen, you feel like you know everything, but then you realize you're just like in the lobby,
Yeah.
and then you're actually let into the library for the first time. You're like, oh, okay, that was just the tutorial. That was the tutorial. Now
Yeah.
there's like 90 levels worth of like learning I have to do. And it's a lifetime thing. It's a lifetime
Yeah.
of learning and a lifetime of work and stuff. So I'm very happy. I'm glad that you become one of us, and you're a brother in Christ. And it makes me happy. So I should get a +2 to my number, right?
+2. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yep. You're racking it up. So humble. So humble.
It was Isaiah that was on the episode where I said we're gonna go.
Oh, that's right.
That's
Yes.
who it was.
That's correct.
It was Isaiah. But yeah, like, it's just such a wonderful thing. And I kind of want to go home to Bucharest very soon when I get some extra cash. And I want to see that new cathedral they opened. It's supposed to be the biggest Orthodox cathedral in the world. It's pretty exciting. It looks really cool.
Black Ibis Budapest session, or
Bucharest session. Yeah, we're gonna hit up The Hungarians in Budapest are actually Roman Catholics. Those guys.
That's fine. Let's go for it.
But yeah, I'm gonna do that. But that'd be great, man. Like, I just want to I'll do some traveling. I'm just happy that like there's this great increase in just people having faith and people wanting to have more to life than just consuming and being part of a machine. And especially with like the economy not being the greatest and with the holidays coming around, it's just such an important thing for people to like focus on being together and getting together.
Yeah.
And it's really the key though, man. I think the key is about participation, right? We have to participate in the world around us. We have to be part of the community, and we have to be friends with our neighbors, and we have to love our neighbors, even the ones that aren't lovable. We have to love them anyways. We need to take care of the people, even if we disagree with them. And that's like strength. You know, when people say, "Oh, you're weak," no, that's strength. Okay, like it's easy to hate people. It's easy to like send people away and turn your back on them. But caring for people, that's hard. That's real. That's where the real work is, right?
Well,
So I'm glad.
The funny thing about saying, oh, it's weak and this and that, like I go to church and there's already, there's a couple people there that I don't care for, right? And it's any group of people, you're not going to automatically get along with everybody, right? But like it's so mild, the disagreement, it's just whatever, it's just how people are, you know what I mean?
Right.
And if you can't manage just preference in personality, I mean, you're not gonna do anything. You're not gonna be able to accomplish anything. Like, oh yeah, I'm strong because the lady who tries to act like my mother at church is super annoying and I hate her. And it's no, shut up, dude. Just stop. Just let her be her and relax and stop being an asshole. And you're not even gonna see her in 20 minutes anyway. You're gonna be walking out of there. So it's like relax,
I don't know about you. I don't walk out of there. I'm there until like 5 p.m. every day.
No, you're doing the priest maxing.
Yeah, I'm just hanging out. I just hang out at church. We're actually gonna go hang out at church. Well, I'm going to Vespers tomorrow, which is something I try my best to make it to Vespers as much as possible. It's just it's far, and well, that's just an excuse. Okay, I'm just making excuses now. But
no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm like, but we're doing a Saturday Vespers and basically a feast. We're doing a Thanksgiving feast because for you non-ortho bros here, our big fast is starting this week, next week, right? So we're going to be fasting from basically now until Christmas, right? And it's that's a pretty big deal. Fasts are a pretty big deal in the Orthodox Church, and I actually like the fasting. I really today, like we don't eat meat today, and because it's Wednesday, and I enjoy fasting. I like the challenge. It's really makes you think about like how much you consume, your consumption level, it really like you don't it's important not to be like a rules monger about it. You're not like reading ingredients and that kind of thing, but it's really a tool to help you spiritually and find like kind of like analyze what you consume, what you intake, and what you put into your body.
Yeah, it's very beneficial in the society that we live in, because I mean we live in a culture that is founded upon and runs on the seven deadly sins, gluttony, avarice, and greed, among all things. So any practice, anything where you pause and step away from that for even a moment is going to bring elements of clarity and is going to bring perspective that you cannot have when you're just guzzling the slop like some OnlyFans performer. You know what I mean? So with the fasting, like for me personally, the fasting is going to be interesting. Thankfully, my wife she's really into the fasting, so she's keeping track of all this stuff. And I'm off in la la land thinking about 9/11 and the Cold War, so I don't keep track of things very well. So she's helping me with that. But as a diabetic, it'll be interesting because like with type 1, there are certain things like the fast where you don't eat until 3 o'clock and stuff. I'm like, no, that's not gonna work. But I also at the same time realize that as I do the fasting and as I do things, I may actually get to the point where I feel brave enough to give it a try. And then, when I'm ready, I will. Or
Right.
not when I'm ready, when the time is correct, it will simply, I simply trust that it'll take care of itself and I will go in the direction that I go. And that's one of the things that I've liked about our church and the way that they approach holiness and the way that they approach Christ is just, you have to show up, you have to participate, and he really does actually do the work, and it's
Right.
such a change. It's such a change from Protestantism and my previous churches where it's, you got to do the work, you got to do the work. As much as they try to say that you don't have to do the work, there's no but that isn't actually how it functions, at least from where I've been. And yeah, Jason, I'm gonna have a conversation with him about that for sure. We just haven't had the opportunity. But yeah, it's the whole seriousness of it is what ultimately just made me go, yep, this is correct. It's actually interesting. Before we decided that, yep, this is our church and this is what we want to do, we actually visited a different church, and it was such a letdown from what we were used to with the Orthodox Church. Afterwards, we were like, nope, Orthodox, nope, that's it. That's like it was like a light. It was like I remember the walk that we took afterwards. We were walking around the park near where we live, and we just went, nope, that's it. That's it. We don't want to go to the styrofoam plastic place. We want to go to the real place. And then it's funny because it's not like we had a conversation with our priest about it. But like 2 weeks later, he's like, so yeah, we're gonna go and get you in next week. We're gonna make it official. It was almost like, oh, did someone tell you? Like, did someone let you know? Well, yeah, that is the serendipity of it, man. It's just
Right.
it's not
It's
it's
wild,
creepy.
right?
Yeah, it's creepy, but it's creepy in that way where like your spine kind of tingles a little bit, and you feel the hair on the back of your neck go up because you're going, oh shit, it is real. Oh no.
Right. Well, it's one of the things. One of the
Oh boy.
things that my wife and I noticed is that the first almost every Sunday during the liturgy and the homily, it feels like our priest and just the liturgical calendar seems to like perfectly like match with what's going on in my life.
Yeah, there's that
Like
rhythm.
we have this like it'll be Saturday night and we'll have this like long 3-hour conversation about a certain topic, like where we're racking with this idea, and we're sitting here talking about this, and the next day, well, that's what the topic is about. Like, what? It's like he's speaking straight to me, like I'm like, oh my, that's like the timing is like, just perfect.
Yeah.
And
Well, I've been reading from the lives of I've been reading from the lives of saints, and also the some prayer books and different things. And it's just the idea that what else is there to study? What else is there to talk about? Study the scriptures, study what's happened, study what God's done. And then you'll see the rest. You'll see everything else. The veil will be pierced. The fog will slowly begin to, float away. And I'm 100,000% convinced I've only seen a tiniest, like I am evil and retarded level of stuff. You know what I mean?
right,
Just the tiniest bit.
because there's so much there. There's so much depth,
Yeah.
and there's so
Well,
much.
yeah.
But
Yeah. Just
you don't need. Here's the thing, though. The good thing is, in a way, you don't particularly need. It is the church is wide and deep. The faith is
yes.
wide and deep, but
Yeah.
you can fill yourself up with enough, right? Like you don't have to
Yeah.
drink it all up. Like you don't have to go all the way all the time. The goal should be to
Right.
do that, but you know what? Like you can get like tons of depth from a surface level, but also like if you really want to like go into like a deep academic kind of study, you can absolutely do that. You can and it's interesting because I'll sit around after liturgy and after coffee hour. Well, we don't like to call it coffee hour at our church. Our priest likes to call it a common meal because he says coffee hour sounds kind of corny. And I kind of agree with them. Like he's like, oh, we're sharing a common meal. I think I like that better, to be honest, right? But it seems to be that coffee hour is like the trendy kind of thing that Orthodox churches
Just call
call
it
it.
happy hour. You start calling it happy hour.
Yeah,
That'd be the way to
that
go.
is a good idea. Yeah, but
Yeah, happy hour
sometimes we'll
C5.
sit around with like all the friends, some of the friends. There's a few of us that are like deep into theological kind of conversations, and we'll sit around and we'll talk. And it's I usually walk out and I chase the kids around. Like last Sunday, I was playing hide and seek with a bunch of the kids, and then I walk in and my wife is sitting there with like 5 other people, and they're having this deep theological conversation about something. And then I look at the clock, I look at my watch. It's like, oh well, it's 5 o'clock again. And we're like, great. I'm getting home after sunset. I'll leave. But what's great about it is that you can really go deep. But what I noticed is that every single person approaches it from a different kind of different perspective in a way. Like things that my wife, for example, has like a hang up on, or things that she's like really like about, like she thinks about, right? I don't even consider. It's really weird. Like, and then things that I consider or like I have questions about, my wife's like, "Oh no, I never thought about it that way," or like it didn't bother me. Like I'm talking about like simple things like how you do, how you take a communion with the spoon, right? Like like I never thought about it. She's like, "Well, how do you like do that? How do you do the communion? Like, do you use your teeth? Do that kind of stuff, right?" And to me, I'm like, I don't know, you just put the spoon in your mouth and you eat it. I never thought about it, right? But then I thought about what she said. I'm like, well, that makes sense. And it seems like 5 other people in the crowd were all on the same topic. The other thing is like I've learned to really appreciate, because like I come from while I'm a lifelong Orthodox believer, I also had a long period of non-involvement with the church, atheism basically. And I've always tended to, in the past, really dislike the Old Testament. And a lot of my dislike of the Old Testament was really, I just disliked Protestants, and Protestants tend to focus on like Old Testament nonsense for some reason, when you get into like New Age, not young earth creationism and that kind of stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it is a theological minefield when it comes to interdenominational kind of discussions. So I tended to avoid that, and I was like, I just don't really want to get into it. I don't want to have conversations about it. But we've been doing a not bi-weekly, but every other week or so. I forgot what that's called. Is that bi-weekly or bi-monthly class on it, where one of the guys at our church, a really great guy, real smart dude, he's been teaching classes on Genesis. And I'm like enthralled, and I'm learning these stories for the third time. I've read it before in the past, but now I'm getting a very interesting perspective on him. And I'm finding so much depth there now that I've kind of come more into the path, right? I've followed the faith more, and I'm like, wow, this is some really interesting stuff that I never thought about, and the different like a typology of looking at this kind of like the typological reading of the Old Testament is just such a fascinating thing, and it just makes me want to like I'll go to church on Sunday and I'll sit through one of these classes after church, and then I'll just sit there and like order like 20 books online just so I can read about it, and it's just such a fascinating in-depth thing. Now, there's always this warning, right? And the warning is that once you become, look, here's the truth, man. The way you look at it is that you won, right? You've crossed the finish line to a certain degree, right? At least you've won, right? But when you win, when you cross the finish line, right? When you basically there's victory, because there is victory in Christ. That's when the enemy starts lashing out, right?
Yeah.
So it's very important to realize that once you commit, once you've gone all the way and you've been baptized and you do it, that's when the evil of the world starts assaulting you at its most, and I've seen this with some like very crazy like supernatural like things going on in like like did I ever tell you about like when my wife went to the church the first time?
No.
So I'm gonna share her story. She's probably gonna be mad at me. I'm sorry if you're listening, honey. So she actually came the first like full time she came, well, she's been to a few Orthodox. She came to Orthodox church with me back in California, but the first time like she came was for Pasha this year in April, right? So that's
Right.
Easter for you guys that don't speak Orthodox. And she came for the midnight, the whole midnight thing. We started at 11 o'clock, right? And she was acting really wonky, right? She's like, I don't know about this. I don't know about this, going to church at night. And she was really freaked out. And, we do the whole Easter service, right? And liturgy and the great, all the stuff, right? I'm not going to go into terminology for you guys that aren't Orthodox. Anyways, but she told me afterwards, that she felt before, like as she walked in, like the very beginning, she felt like oppressed, right? Like she felt like she could not walk into the church. Like she was terrified, right? Like she felt like she was being like pushed back, like she was convinced that like, she was going to get murdered or something like that. She was just terrified,
Right.
she had all these like not good thoughts, and she said that it wasn't until after midnight when all the lights were turned on and, and everybody was rejoicing in the resurrection that it was like a weight lifted off her shoulder. But she said that she was so convinced, she was getting ready to leave. She's like, I almost walked out. She's like, I almost ran away because I was so scared and stuff. And she was pretty like she's like, why did I feel like that? Why? She actually wrote our priest a long email about it. And he goes, oh yeah, that's normal. Like, I was like, he's like, yeah, it's like you can read about exact happenings in the life of the saints, it's, let me look at what's her name, Mary of the Desert, what's her name, I forgot what the saint's name is. I'm bad with my saints, right? Where she couldn't walk into the church because the demons were holding her back, and she's like, yeah, it happens. He's like, of course. And in those first few weeks while we were fully committing to this church, every single week something bad happened that tried to keep us from going to church. Like that same week she's like, okay, we're going to church, this is going to be our church. She hits a deer and it totals our car. And like it's just events after events after events. It was like the world was like trying to keep her from it, just trying to inconvenience her enough to go, you know what, I'm not going this Sunday because the car's broken and blah 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 and all these excuses. But no, we kind of persevered and went through, and now we just found a home. And it's interesting because that's what happens. That's what happens. And I've heard the same exact story from numerous people where like you're always sick on Sunday morning, or you're and that's how, dude, that's how I feel too. Very often on Sundays, like I'm just like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
Yeah.
I'm hungry. I haven't eaten since the day before. I don't want to go. I don't want to do this. I don't feel like driving. I don't feel like talking to people. I'm not feeling good. My nose is running. I don't feel good. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Excuses, right? And then like I go, no, I have to go. This is if I don't feel good, that's exactly when I need to go. And then I go, and I'm just like in awe at how great I feel and how amazing and fulfilled I feel by the end of the liturgy. It feels like it feels like I often this is like corny. It doesn't sound corny to a lot of people, right? But by Sunday morning, I feel like my battery is like depleted, man. I feel like I just don't have anything left in me with work and life and stuff. And I go on Sunday, and it just is this recharge where by the time it's over, I feel like amazing. I'm just like, I have a purpose again. I it's like my I think clearly, and all the thoughts that were like, poor, and I've caught myself like of just respecting the power of prayer, like, I was what was I doing? I was like cleaning the house. I was off on Monday, right? And I was in a pissy fucking mood on Monday, right? I had an appointment scheduled that afternoon to get a steroid shot in my neck and in my cervical spine. And for you guys, I've never had a needle shoved into your cervical spine and medication squirted into it. It is not a pleasant feeling, right? So I was not looking forward to that. I was like stressing out about it. And I don't know what it was. my entire kitchen was pissing me off. The dogs are making me mad. Like I was just like, my wife was upstairs working, and she was working on her work, right? And I was just like, oh, she's not doing anything. I was just like, I was finding things to be irritated about. I was just finding things to be irritated at, and I stopped. I was like, no, I'm being done. Like, so I went to our little prayer corner, which all Orthodox Christians have a prayer corner. If you guys aren't familiar with that, and I prayed for like 5 minutes, and I was like, okay, I feel way better. It was like, oh, I'm gonna go back to doing the dishes and do it joyfully because it's not a big deal. And I'm going to get the medication shoved into my neck and I'm going to feel better 2 days from now. And, lo and behold, here I am today and I feel great. My neck doesn't hurt as much anymore. And all the stuff that I was stressing out about just got done. It's like this, it's almost like it's corny, but like it's like that Mentos commercial, man. You'd be like, oh, time out. I need or like a Snickers, I need a prayer break real fast just to clear my mind from all the world, and it's so wild that like in a way this is bad for the podcast, guys, right? It's bad for the podcast that I have no desire to like get into the muck of like current events, and I don't even know what's going on Substack. Is anything cool? Any interesting fights? Or I just don't care.
No, there's not. No, same old stuff.
Yeah.
I've discovered a couple of new ways to call people retards. But besides that, I mean, there's really not much else. I might do some writing soon. I feel like I finally have something to say. So I'm kind of excited about that. But I mean, as far as Substack in general, I mean, it's you know what it is. You know what it is. There's
same stuff.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Right.
But at least Substack in general and just the discourse is it's that fear picture of a guy screaming forever,
Right.
But the people that we talk to, I mean, I had a good discussion with one of my subscribers. He had some good ideas regarding another forced lessons I could write. I think when this 9/11 unit is over, I'm gonna have a little retrospective and talk about it because I think it'll be interesting. And then because it's actually linking directly into that multipolarity article I've been planning to write. So I mean, the interactions that we have with the people that we know and like the church, quote unquote, that we're kind of building on Substack. Yeah, I mean that's worth getting into. But the general stuff, who fucking knows? Who fucking cares?
Right.
It doesn't matter. And I mean, to bring it back to what you were saying, the podcast will probably get better because you and I will begin to discuss more the things that actually matter, the things that actually are pertinent to life, not the frivolities of the internet and this crass techno-pagan bullshit we call a culture.
Right.
But with like the prayer stuff and things like that, I think I would want to say that the one thing about coming back or coming into the faith that I appreciate the most is when I was young, I did not appreciate the obedience part of it. I did not appreciate the discipline part of it. And illness, we should do an episode on this, actually discuss this issue in detail. Illness is what brought me back 100%. I don't talk about it much. I mean, a lot of people know that I've got type 1 diabetes, but I suffer from chronic pain. And when I say chronic, I mean, if I flip the switch in my head, I'm not getting out of bed. It's Alex, it's horrible. And I mean, with your neck, like you can easily imagine what I'm describing here. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that pain, that suffering, that discipline, that you have to take your insulin or you're going to fucking die, brought me back to the church because I had to rely on something. I had to have discipline. I had to have obedience. And then God just kind of like slid in the truth and said, yeah, this is what you've been missing the entire time, buddy. And I went, oh, okay. So I got to go to church, got to take communion, got to pray, got to cross myself, got to read the scripture, got to listen to my wife. Like it's that piece was missing. And, God beat my ass hard enough to when I finally noticed and went, oh, cool. Thanks, buddy. It's this is how it works. This is how it goes because, I've started to have a conversation with some family members and stuff because they're like, "Oh, you converted to Orthodoxy. What's that mean?" And this and that and the other thing. And I don't think they understand. Like when I go home to visit, it's going to be, yeah, guys, I actually believe that dude came back from the dead, like he rose into heaven, like all that stuff. It's not a metaphor. It's not teaching. It's not, oh, he was a great. No, 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 no. Literally, as written in the scriptures, that's what happened,
Right.
guys. If he's alive and he went to like that had like the world is, that means something, guys. That means, and it never went away. Like as much as, oh, well, we had the enlightenment and we figured, no, we've been lying to ourselves. It's still right there for the taking. Just rain
It's
dance,
there.
right? Just do the rain dance, guys. It's right there. It's not that
So
far.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought up the whole illness thing because
Yeah, illness is beautiful, man. I actually
like
I love being sick now.
the
It's
power
the
of like
best.
suffering. I know
Yes.
it sounds okay. So your atheist like bro brain kicks in at
Yeah.
this point, right? And it goes, well, you're just religious because of fear, right? You're afraid of, and you are, you are blah blah blah, or you're only doing this because you want like a
Yeah.
cure, which is completely a misunderstanding
No.
of the thing.
Yeah.
What's
Oh, I
interesting?
want a cure, man. You hear the atheist bro, right? Like the cure. You sure you want to talk about the cure, my
Right,
man?
right. It's like there's a lot of beauty in suffering, and I remember like one thing that in the atheist bro world, Christopher Hitchens used to really complain about, like Mother Teresa. She's a Roman Catholic, but and her work in India, and you know he was always like, oh, they're just suffering pimps, misery pimps is what Christians are, and
Mystery pimps. Oh, come on.
I think that's what Christopher Hitchens called
That's
Mother Teresa,
hilarious.
like
That's
a
hilarious.
misery merchant or something like that. And
Okay.
it's funny
Okay, buddy.
because
Sure. Yeah,
it's funny
whatever.
because ultimately he experienced a great amount of suffering, and he ended up having throat cancer, and he died pretty
Huh.
horribly. And I mean,
Yeah.
I liked him. He was an
Yeah.
intelligent man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think he became a lot more humble when he got sick. So when we're
Yeah.
young, look, I think maybe you and I are very similar growing up, and I know a lot of
Yeah.
the guys that are listening are in their 20s. You feel fucking
Invincible.
invincible, right?
Because you are.
You feel
Because you are.
invincible, right?
Yeah.
Because you are. I spent most of my 20s with military guys, and we all felt invisible. They were invincible, right? There is
Yeah.
nothing more like just boner inducing than walking through a village with a 50 cal, above you on an armored vehicle, and you've got like your boys and you're decked out like it's like Call of Duty, and you're about to kick down a
Yeah, man.
door and like war crime some civilians, and it just nothing's gonna hurt you. It just you
Yeah.
feel like amazing.
Yeah.
And but that reality is artificial, right?
Yeah.
Because the reality is we are just meat bags in a way, right? We are created in
Yeah.
God's image, but we are
Yeah.
frail people disconnected from the true source of the universe, right?
Yeah.
And this suffering sometimes, whether it's unexpected like diseases like diabetes, or
Yeah.
injuries like mine where like I can't feel my right arm and I can't sleep except straight on my back and that kind of stuff, it makes you realize, well, God, I'm frail. I am
Yeah.
so frail. And I realize that this body is frail, and it is really my spirit that matters, right? It
Yeah.
is like the ability to like withstand that frailty and to see past it, that's what really matters.
Yeah.
And I remember, one of the things that always struck me in my military days, my gun ho cool GI Joe days, is that when we were in training, we most guys that not all guys in the military, but like people that aren't pogues, right? Do you know what pogue is?
I don't know. I've heard the phrase, but I don't know what it
So
means.
a pogue is a derogatory term that like the Marine Corps uses, for example, for people, and it stands for personnel other than grunt, right? So you're like,
Oh, yeah. Okay. No, I
look at
do
this
know this.
pogue
Yeah.
bitch, look at this
That's
admin guy, this admin
yeah, right.
guy, he's
Pencil
out
pusher.
here, he's like out here cutting paychecks and stuff, freaking pogue bitch, right? So, guys that aren't pogues, they go through like a pipeline, a lot of training. We did a lot of training. I've done like, I didn't get to like my first unit for like over a year plus until I finally actually got ready to go. Right. So you
Yeah.
spend a lot of time with a lot of people. You see people drop out and kind of roll up. But you know what? One thing that like really struck me, people drop out of all the training all the time. They fail, something happens, they're not like fit enough. They can't keep up,
Yeah.
whatever. That's
People get
part of the
hurt.
training, right?
Right. Yeah, it happens.
Right. But a few times, the thing that really stuck out to me was you had some guys that were just beasts, right? These guys were monsters. Like they were like some of the best dudes, And during training, I was
Yeah.
like, man, this guy's gonna be it, man. This is Rambo right here. This is Die Hard over here. He's going to freaking, like knife kill like 30 Taliban when we get there, And you get these guys, and a few of them, what struck me was that some of those guys were the guys that broke.
Yeah.
It was like they were the guys that we get there. I remember there was this one guy. I don't remember. I'm not gonna say his name, just in case. I don't know, right? But there was this
Yeah.
one guy that I thought was like the real deal, right? And as soon as he got deployed, and as soon as we were in the sandbox out there, in the stand, he's the guy that he was the first guy to break. He pulled the
Yep.
mental health thing and like got himself sent back home because he just broke. He couldn't take it. He didn't want to be there. And then I remember hearing that and I was like, really, him? And then you've got like this like 120-pound like dude that's like a stray dog, like a stray chihuahua off of like off the
Audie
street.
Murphy. You got your Audie
Yeah,
Murphy.
yeah, that's like going on 3 patrols a day by himself, and this kind of stuff, right? It was shocking, the people that like push through while the dudes that like I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not always right, but a lot of times I saw that, and you realize that it's really the spirit that matters, man. It's like it's
Yeah.
the ability to like to be strong against adversity, and that's when you really challenge yourself. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot of people say like, oh, Navy SEALs are really badass. Well, yeah, they're really badass, and that's no doubt, But sometimes it's kind of easy to be badass when you have all these helicopters and doctors flying above you, and if you get shot,
Yeah.
there's a medevac instantly, and you get instantly. It's those infantry guys, out there for like 6 months at a time. They're not going home to the physical therapist, they're out there
No.
going home to like a tent, and
Yeah.
it's the guys that don't have all the cool gear, and it's the guys that don't have all this stuff. They're just out there just doing it, just
Yeah.
just hooving it, walking around. And
Yeah.
it's always like perspective, man.
Yeah, perspective, absolutely. One of my favorite saints and one of my favorite stories that I've read is Saint Basil the Great. And there's this story where the emperor, because I guess the emperor at the time was pushing this kind of heresy. Saint Basil, if people don't know, he was the bishop of Cappadocia, and he had a buddy named Gregory the theologian, and these guys were just basically ballers. Jason, see if you can guess. But no, I'm teasing. The story I'm telling, Basil. So anyway, Basil is the bishop of Cappadocia. This is right around the time of Constantine, right? So this is like way back, and this emperor comes to Basil and is like, he's wanting to push this heresy, and he wants to push Basil out, and Basil's just like, listen, I don't have anything, I own nothing, I'm weak, the first blow will kill me. I'm not from anywhere. I don't belong anywhere. So you can send me wherever you want, and I'm gonna be home. Like, it just doesn't matter. And then he goes, and he's like, also, like, kill me, send me to God. I don't care. Do it. And it's just stares down the emperor of Rome. It's just whatever. And then later on, yeah. And then later on, they're hosting this. They're hosting this. They're doing the liturgy, and Basil's there, and the congregation's there, and the emperor comes to the liturgy as as just like a common person. Like he just kind of sneaks in so he can kind of see what's going on. And it just blows the guy's mind. It blows the Emperor's mind. He just goes, holy shit, I don't know what I'm dealing with here. And he's just like, you know what, leave Basil alone. Just let him be. Just don't mess with that guy. And I love that story. Just that's why I picked Basil. But like this story is just so good. And the other side of it, this will make you laugh too. But he was known as the bee, honey for the faithful and stingers for the heretic. I mean, does that? I mean, I read that. And I'll just that's it. That's right there. And it's that context. And this guy, doing the monk thing, living out in the dead, like just him and Gregory like hanging out together in this monastery, right? Like writing and reading and studying scriptures and all this stuff. And it's just imagine this old frail guy looking at the Emperor, just going, "Send me to God, make my day,
Yeah.
make my day,
like,
asshole."
None
Just
of this
doesn't
matters.
care.
None of
Doesn't
this matters.
care.
Like,
Yeah.
you
Stare
giving
him right in the eye.
you putting suffering upon me is a blessing,
Yeah.
because you know what I mean?
Well,
It's like if what's fascinating is if you read about, in more recent, all the priests in Romania that were persecuted by the communists, and
Yeah.
these guys, you read their post collapse of Eastern European communism, and these guys were tortured and just treated horribly in these prisons, and had their beards cut off and all, just horrible. And they would say that, like, it was a blessing. The closest I was to God was when I was in prison at my worst.
Joke's on you.
You know what I mean?
Suckers.
It was like,
yeah.
because
it's like my favorite, dare I say, Protestant saint, Bonhoeffer, talking about like reading his letters and papers from prison, and like it was the exact same thing. The guards snuck out all his stuff after he was killed because he administered to them so effectively, and they were like, "This guy is something else." Yeah, it's like, do your worst, bring it.
Right. And it's interesting because we're gonna wrap it up because I got to go eat dinner, but I'm gonna take it back to fasting in a way.
Yeah.
When we read about the saints, and for you non-Orthodox people, I mean, the saints are fascinating, period. They're, I don't want to get into like the theological kind of like implications or any of that stuff, but and we read about the saints, and they're supposed to be examples for us, right? They're people that are better at this than we're ever going to be. I don't know, maybe there might be, right?
Well,
it's our
go ahead.
Reading about the saints in a way is like an athlete reading about gold medalists that came before him. You know what I mean? Like, your goal is to get the gold medal, and those people did it. That's what sainthood is, right? They achieved they achieved the medal. And you want to read about their lives because their lives are fascinating, their trials and challenges, and how they came and how they became and what they did and their answers to things. But sometimes for us living in 2025 in this machine world that we live in, it's almost tough, because nobody's throwing us to lions, nobody's throwing us to lions in the Coliseum, or we're not being that's not true. There's tons of persecution and there is tons of darkness going on right now, and it is kind of a scary time to be a Christian in a way. But at the same time, like, it's not as overt.
The thing you got to remember, the punishment for modern life is modern life. Right.
That's exactly it. Right. And I was thinking about this when we were talking about fasting earlier, where, our fasting rules come from monasticism, so most of the rules are how monks and monasteries live, monks in isolation. And that's what we try to kind of aim for, but we fall short because we're not monastics ourselves, but we try to keep as close as possible.
Yeah.
Right.
If it works for them, it'll work for us.
Exactly. As laymen. That's why there's no there's no actual the Orthodox Church doesn't have like an instruction manual on how to fast. Right. It doesn't have that. Right. But what's interesting is that in a way, those guys in the Middle Ages and before, I mean, how hard is it to fast when you didn't really have a lot of food to begin with? Right. You know what I mean? Right? Like, let's be honest here, right? You're like, You're like, oh, you're gonna
No big
not
deal.
eat. Well, you weren't eating yesterday anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? Like,
Yeah, right.
for the most part, I'm being facetious here. I'm not knocking on those guys, right? But
Yeah.
at the same time, now, the level of gluttony that we are just exposed
Oh,
to, I mean,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
it is rough. I think some of the
Yeah.
saints that were probably fasting for 20 years would have a hard time with Twinkies and
Yeah.
easy like fast food and Chick-fil-A and just,
I can,
the
yeah, Alex, we can DoorDash more calories than they ate in a month.
right,
Just
right.
get it I can have it delivered by a car to my door.
Right. So in a
Ah,
way, fasting is
ugh.
even more important in our age.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
it's like being able to like say no to the just this. We have the ability to experience every vice from our bedroom right now. Right. I can get pissed drunk. I can call Papa John's right now and they'll bring me 2 6-packs of
Yeah.
beer, like 3 pizzas. I can load up OnlyFans on my cell phone, and
Yep.
knock out like 7 other sins all within like 30 minutes,
Yeah.
like, like some of those guys back in the day had to work to do some sinning. You know what I mean? Like there's no opportunity there, but
Yeah.
every like second we are overwhelmed with this, like, and the worst part about it is a lot of those, you look at the Christian era of Europe and even really until the middle 20th century, like a lot of the stuff that they would consider scandalous, like wife swapping and pornography and that kind of stuff would have been considered scandalous in like my grandmother's day, right? Like
Yeah.
you're just not pulling up like, a swinger, like nobody would admit to being a swinger like in the 40s or 50s, okay? Like that was
Yeah.
something you did on the down low if you were part of that kind of crowd, right?
Yeah.
But now, I go across the street from my house to the retirement community and there's upside down pineapples everywhere, which by the way, for you guys unfamiliar with the symbolism of this, an upside down pineapple is like the universal symbol for like wife swapping swinger, right? And
Yeah.
the
Now
retirement
get you elected
communities,
to office. Get you
yeah,
elected to office.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's just the massive level of like just, just the degeneracy and just
Yeah.
people being proud of their like living in sin, right? Is so overwhelming that it feels like almost radical. Like it feels
Yeah.
radical to like reject that. It feels radical to say no to like, I don't need to eat meat today. Something as simple as like, you know what? I don't need to drink alcohol today. It feels radical almost, right? It feels like
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's where the value of it comes in. But anyways, Fisto, I am so joyful that you and your wife
Yeah, man.
got baptized and that, you got chrismated.
Yes, sir.
For you guys, chrismation is basically the official bringing into the church. When you're baptized and chrismated, but
Yeah.
the Orthodox Church recognizes baptisms, so it doesn't do double baptism. So if you're,
Right.
the kind of the rule of thumb, don't quote me theologically. This is not a religious podcast, right? The rule of
Right. We are
thumb,
not
as it is
we are not
explained to me,
priests.
is that if you are baptized with water in the Trinity, then your
Yeah.
baptism is valid. Phisto
Yep.
was baptized a Roman Catholic, therefore his baptism is
Yep.
valid, but he wasn't a member of the church, so he was chrismated into the church, right?
Right. Yep.
Um, so that's actually what my wife is going into, because she was also baptized as a Roman Catholic, and she has a baptismal certificate and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's a joyful thing, man. It's fantastic, and you get to celebrate the Christmas season as an Orthodox Christian for the first time, and I'm so glad to be your friend through it. I'm so happy, and I know I really am. Like it's just
No, I
like it
know.
makes me happy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. It's great stuff,
and
man. It's been a thing. It's been a thing for
right.
sure.
And I don't, what's interesting though. I don't think I ever like pushed you to it. I never was like, hey, you should go to
No.
Orthodox church. It was very, or like we talked about it, but it
No.
was
No.
never like me like trying to get you to go or anything. I was always
No.
like,
No. You know what did it? You know what did it? I'll tell the story real quick. But last year, I did a long unit on Western civilization and the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. And I went through Byzantium, right? So like I didn't just go into the fall of Western Rome and the rise of Christendom and this. No, I lingered on Byzantium for a long, long time. And what did it for me was explaining to kids how the Romans built the classical civilization and then what happened in the Holy Land, what happened in Israel and Christianity and how it spread. And I'm looking at it going, holy shit, this is real. Like it's almost like I could see the plan. I mean, it just boils down to the fact that the Romans literally built the infrastructure that the missionaries traveled on. Like,
Right.
whoa, what is going on? And then like the destruction of the temple in 70 AD and how that spread, all these different groups and all these different people all over the Roman Empire. And then eventually they heard about the gospel and everything else. And it's just like, oh gosh, oh, holy smokes, right? So I'm seeing all this. And then I'm reading about Byzantium, and it was Justinian, man. The Nika riots and like all that stuff. And it was man, I'm gonna get a little teary-eyed. But it was the massive destruction of the Nika riots. And I stand with the Blues. Heck yeah, baby. But the Nika riots, and just when Justinian says, bring me Belisarius, and 30,000 people, 50,000 people are about to fucking die. Just yikes. And all of that happens and all of that occurs. And then Justinian builds the Hagia Sophia. And it was it was the greatest building in the world. Still is, in my mind. That thing is, what the hell? And it goes to reading about the saints, and it goes to all this stuff, and it's just, there is historical proof this shit is real.
Right.
But you have to be able to see it, right? You have to be willing to see it. If you're not willing to see it, you'll never see it. But when you see it, you will never not see it again. It's just burned into your soul at that point. So when I, experienced that kind of revelation, I was like, shit, I gotta check out an Orthodox church. I just have to. And there was one right up the road. And I went, and there's a couple of old guys there who are just, I've joked about these, but we've got a couple of ancient priests at my church, and they're just saving souls. They're just doing the thing. I mean, they're great. I fucking love these guys. And it was just, that's it. Like, what else is there to say?
It just clicked.
Done. It clicked. Like, exactly. It 100% clicked into place. I got one-shotted, and just, that's it. Cool. All right. So be it. Whatever.
That's like so funny, because you talk to so many people in Orthodox churches that are like, oh, I resisted it. No, I didn't want to. But I started reading about history. It's funny. Like, well, I started reading about history, and I was reading, and then I walked into Orthodox church, and I was kind of weirded out, and then I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I've been here for 10 years. It's like you just get one-shotted by it. It's like,
Well, like, I walked in, and I was sitting there and, doing the divine liturgy and seeing the divine liturgy for the first time. And I thought to myself, this is what it was like back in the day. Like, at least a little bit, maybe, I'm sure it's not exactly the same, whatever, but I could feel the resonance. I could feel the resonance through time and space.
Right.
Just, okay, cool. I'm in, done.
People are listening to this and going, these guys, what are these guys on about? These guys are crazy. They're like, no, it does. You like, that's exactly the same thought I had, right? Because I'm a history nerd too, and I was like, dude, I'm taking part in something that was created. The liturgy we're doing today, it's the same one there, that John Chrysostom, wrote, and it's the same one, and like we're doing things that people did like in the 4th century, we're like, and it's just so like, so awe-inspiring, because for those few hours, you walk into my church, which our church is a mission church. It's not even finished yet, and it's in this building that was not built to be a church temporarily, and God willing, we'll have a full church very soon when we're building it from scratch. But you walk into this building, and you're not in this building, you're just like transported. You're like, whoa, I'm not like this building off the side, like in the small town in South Carolina. And I feel like I'm walking like, outside of time and space almost, and like it's just wild, and it's crazy because when I'm out there every Sunday and we're praying, I know you're doing the same thing at the same exact time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's just the coolest thing, right? Like I'm like, man,
Yeah.
like right now, Phisto is doing the same exact thing I'm doing, at the same exact time, right? And it's just such a great, like crazy. It's like, it's truly like Mircea Eliade says, it's a very like numinous feeling outside of space and time. It's like there's a connection to the axis mundi of the universe and the true source, which is, God himself. And that is such an amazing thing. And it sounds so crazy to people on the outside. You've never experienced it. It's literally like you are, the analogy that Dr. Zachary Porku in his great book that we've had, if you can go back a few podcasts, we talked about it, and he has a great analogy in there where in a way we are like all like laptops that we can't plug back in, and we still have life in us, there's still electricity in us and our batteries. But when you plug in your laptop, man, your screen lights up right away, and like you can start seeing that bar starting to rise. And that's like the feeling that's the feeling of becoming closer to God through liturgy, through the communion, right? Which is like you're just plugging into that source, man. You know what I mean? You're getting the second life. And it's just such an amazing concept, and that's like the best thing.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed our episode today. We talked about a little bit of everything, a little bit of what's the genre of speech or liturgy, not confession, or it was a testimony. What do the Protestants call it when you talk about your conversion or your coming to Christ? Your
testimony, I guess, or your story.
Yeah,
whatever.
Protestants like to call it like testimony or something.
We talked about important things.
We're talking about Belisarius.
Belisarius, baby, let's go.
We're such a nerdy podcast.
Reconquest of the West. Here we go. Here we go.
What other podcast on Substack right now has people in the comments going, Nika 432, I stand with the blue? Like nobody else would get that. Only just weird. Only us weirdos would understand this stuff,
Man, man, we didn't even get into Justinian and like his wife and purple is the noblest shroud and then the Codex Justinianus and like everything. Oh man.
Yeah,
these guys.
Maybe next year we'll go deep into we'll go deep into Byzantine history and Orthodox Christianity combined. Like the history of like pre-schism, early church. But here's what we're doing next week. Okay, next week at 5 o'clock.
What are we doing next week?
5 Eastern time is our final episode of the season. All right, we're not going away. We're just ending the season because I like the idea of having seasons because we are a respectable talk show, right? So it's going to be our 40th episode this year, right? And we're going to do kind of a retrospective of some of the things we've talked about. What I really want is all you guys listening today and guys on Substack and on YouTube and stuff, come up with some questions for us if you want, man. Like just throw out some ideas. Like be like, hey, talk about this. What about this? Drop all this stuff, right? Because ultimately, like this show is about you, but we're going to go through a retrospective. We're going to go over some stats, right? How many hours. I need to add the amount of hours. I'm guessing we did a lot of hours this year. We record a lot, and then we're going to take a break. I'd like, initially like last year, I thought maybe we should do a Christmas break, right, over the holiday season. But I like podcasting around Christmas. One for two main reasons. One, I want to talk about Christmas. Like it's fun to talk about Christmas. And Christmas stuff happens around Christmas. And I want to do the community thing around Christmas. The other thing is I usually have time off from work around Christmas. So I actually can podcast more and I'm well rested. So it kind of works out with the timing. But Thanksgiving is a good time to take it off. So we're going to do, it's a very busy time of the year because everybody's, we're fasting, we're preparing for Christmas, we're present shopping, we're traveling, catching up with family. So what we're going to do is next episode will be the season finale. We're going to do a retrospective of this year, talk about what, some of the highlights, one of those like every TV show does that, it's like the real episode, right? And then we're going to take about a month off. All right. We're going to take a month off from doing podcasts and live streams and stuff. I'm probably going to write a bit during that time. and we'll be back around December 14th. All right, like mid pre-Christmas, and we'll do some Christmas episodes. I got guests planned. We have a bunch of guests lined up. I did have some guests lined up for the last 2 episodes. Well, we had Lisa, which she's not really a guest. She's more of a like the third host because she's been on so many times.
Yep.
But we've got a bunch of guests planned for next year. I decided to push back all guests for season 3. So I thought that'd be better than me. I've been so busy.
Season 3, season of the guest.
Season of the guest. At least the first few months we'll have a bunch of guests. And then we'll have lots of cool stuff to talk about. In some history, and until then I'll be playing some Arc Raiders. So if anybody wants to, one thing I'm going to do, and I'm actually going to, I've been thinking about this one, is I think I'm going to, right now we have a group Telegram chat. I'm thinking of switching to Discord and kind of opening it up to all subscribers just to kind of build the community more. I think that'd be much more fun than keeping it locked. That's one idea that I've had, like switching to it. Just I feel like Discord is a much better chat, like a group thing than Telegram is. Telegram's kind of janky. Like it doesn't really work as well. You can't really like find old posts and stuff on it,
Yeah, no, Discord's definitely got a lot of positive things going for it. Telegram kind of feels like the secret basement. And then the Discord is more of the civic hall when it comes to this kind of thing.
It just seems like it's pretty, like it works well, and it connect, like our church has a Discord server, which is kind of cool, and there's lots of good conversations on there.
What we should do, we should do is have Discord for the plebs, and then keep the Telegram chat for the paid subs.
That might be a good idea. I guess what we're going to have to do,
which is good.
And what we're going to have to do before December is probably do a solo episode with just me and you without recording. We just catch up on some stuff and come up with some plans. That's behind the scenes talk right here. But yeah, like I said, we got a lot of guests. So for all you guys, hey, once again, thank you guys all for tuning in. Our numbers, we get a pretty decent, like, not a huge following live. I think our hours aren't ideal for live streaming, but whatever. That's
maybe we'll adjust those. Maybe I'll learn to stay up a little later.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I guarantee you that if we were to like do live streams like 2 hours later, we'd probably have like quadruple the amount of people listening.
Like 7 to 9. Okay, let's do it.
We'll talk about it. But I think that everybody tends to like live stream thing, but our big numbers are in the downloads, right? We get tons of downloads every episode, and I try my best to get it done and edit it out. It takes a little bit of work on my part, and I'm truly am a slothful person half the time. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a frog. I'm a toad when it comes to like a lot of this stuff. I very much appreciate all you guys, and I love having all you guys live chatting with us, and I love having these great conversations. Even on episodes where we're not going deep into topics, I think it's super fun, and I'm just thankful for all you guys. I love you guys a lot. So you guys.
Oh, hey, one more thing thing about next week. I will reveal end of season 2 block number. I reached a milestone. Today. So I'm gonna tease that. I'm just gonna tease that out there. So next week we'll get the end of season Phisto blocked total, which is the most important number on the podcast.
Right.
So 100%.
And if you guys have any specific questions and you want us to address something ahead of time, you can go ahead and post it on the comments of this episode when it gets up on Substack. And if not, just save it for next Tuesday. Save it for next Tuesday, and we'll just hit it up in the chat, and we'll address it. I tend to address all the comments. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. This is Black Ibis Social Club. We had a great time tonight, and we will see you next week. Like, share, subscribe, and do us a favor, spread the word. And we will see you guys next week at the same time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Good night.
See you guys.